If you have a deep desire for something, a yearning for something, and it's just not happening, and you've been working on it for a while, then it's only natural to wonder, what am I doing wrong? Did I do something wrong? Am I somehow being punished? I'm here to tell you, you're not being punished, but there may be a good reason for why it's not here yet. Hello and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. My name is Lorena. I am a self-concept coach and mentor, so I'm here to help you to shift into a new state of being, a new identity, a new self-concept that will enable you to effortlessly call in all of the things that your heart truly and authentically desires. If you end up liking this video, I would love it if you left a like and maybe a comment. If you've got something to say, I love reading your comments and engaging and interacting with you. Also, feel free to share this video with a friend if you feel like it may benefit them. Subscribe if you haven't already, and if you want to dive deeper with me, you can check out the links in the description box below. There's links to free resources if you're completely new to my world, and if you really want to do the deep work, then I invite you to check out my coaching program, Recreate Yourself. This is where we do a deep dive, you and me together, and where we really change your self-concept on a really deep and subconscious level through working together in a coaching container. So today's video is about the very common occurrence of frustration and annoyance when you've been working on manifesting something for a while and it's not happening, and the very natural question of, what am I doing wrong, and am I somehow being punished? Why is it not happening if I'm doing everything right? We'll talk about why this happens and how this happens, the sensation. We will also talk about shifting your perception on punishment versus reward when it comes to manifestation, conscious manifestation. We will also talk about karma, releasing control, and how you can do that. So this question of, what am I doing wrong and am I being punished here, doesn't really come up anymore. But if it feels like that, if you keep hitting a dead end, the harder you try, the less it's working, then there's a really good reason for that, and I'm going to explore that with you at the end of the video. You may have made the experience before that if you want to consciously manifest something and you don't really have a lot of resistance to it, you don't have a lot of resistance to the opposite, you don't really care whether it happens or not, it comes in pretty quickly usually. But with the things that have more of an emotional charge to it, with the things that are a bit more important to you, it tends to take longer, there tends to be more resistance, there tends to be more overanalyzing. And the reason for that is simply the intensity of your desire and how you deal with that intensity. When you have a strong burning desire, you can let that lead you, or you can go into control mode and you can start chasing it and trying to force it. Not always a conscious process, very often a subconscious process. If you really want something, you tend to obsess over it, and we all do it. It's a human thing to do. And that obsession can lead to manipulating things. It can lead to your ego taking over. It can lead to resistance, and it can also lead to you consistently looking for proof that it's working and that you're doing it right and that you're being rewarded for all the work you put in. Which brings me to this skewed perception that people have of punishment versus reward. Maybe you feel this, or maybe you have heard this, or maybe you've been there where you felt that if I do everything right, I'm being rewarded by receiving my manifestation. But if it's not happening, then I must be doing something wrong. I must somehow be punished for not doing it right, for not doing it perfectly. And I have said this before, but your manifestation is not a reward for you doing everything right, and you not having your manifestation is also not punishment because you're doing something wrong. The universe is completely neutral. It's not a reward system of if I follow this process to a T, then I'm gonna get it and my manifestation is a reward. This is also why I often say with self-concept work that it's not a means to an end. I see a lot of people getting into self-concept work from the perspective of I changed myself so I can get the things. But that's not how it works, and it's also not the point, it's not the purpose. If you make that the point, if you make that the intention, if you make that the purpose, you will be humbled because it's not gonna work out that way. If you only do something, if you only do the work, if you only change your self-concept, if you only follow a process in order to get something in return because you have an expectation, it's going to backfire. Your intention needs to be pure. Because I think this perception comes from multiple sources. It comes from ego, right? Our ego always wants to receive some sort of reward, well done, you did it right, now you get something in return. And our ego is also the part of us that feels down, that feels less than, right? Your ego will always either put itself above other people or below other people because it thrives off separation. But then I also think this perception of reward and punishment often comes from religious dogma. I personally grew up Christian. I have nothing against Christianity. I think it's actually a very beautiful religion. But there tends to be this connotation of an external God, and there tends to be this connotation of if you don't do things right, you're being punished. Or if you're doing things right, then you're being rewarded, which is not how the universe really works. It's because it's not external, it's internal. However, despite the universe being neutral, I do actually believe in karma. I do actually believe that the actions that we take have an impact, not necessarily in this life, but maybe in the next. And, maybe the things that happen to us now have to do with the previous lives that we've lived. This is my personal belief. You don't need to believe this. You don't need to believe in reincarnation if you don't. This is just my perception. But even karma, I don't see as due to punishment or reward. I see it more as a cleansing process, right? As an opportunity to heal, which brings me further into the topic, because here's what happens when you try to control the process. When your ego takes over and you think, I'm going to be rewarded, I'm going to get a gift if I do everything right, and if I do things wrong, then I'm going to be punished. Or the fact that things aren't happening now means I must have done something wrong, or means I have bad karma, or means I'm being punished. When you try to control the process and you try to manipulate it, you try to force it, you try to control it, life will fucking humble you, because the unfolding, the process, the journey is not yours to control. You don't have control over that. And when you try to control it, you're gonna get humbled. So it's not punishment. You're not being punished for doing things wrong. You're just being reminded this isn't your place. Your ego is getting a little lesson here to see you're not in control here, because your ego is not what's in control. Your ego is not what's in control. Holding the vision for a desire and taking the aligned action towards it does not mean you're controlling the outcome. It just means you're doing the work to show up in the embodiment of it already being done. It means that you are taking the action you need to, whether that is putting yourself out there, whether that is hiring support, whether that is facing uncomfortable emotions, whatever the action is, that is what you need to do, but not because you're trying to manipulate an outcome. And when you try to manipulate an outcome, when you try to control the process, you will fall down. It will backfire. Life will humble you, as I said. And that feels like failure. It feels like you're doing something wrong. It feels like you're being punished because you're almost on this hamster wheel. You're so in resistance that you keep fighting, and you keep getting the message, no, but you're not being punished and you're not failing. You're just being reminded that you are not in control of the process and that it is best to stay humble and to let the divine within you take over. I'll tell you what, in my opinion, the 3 key steps are. Firstly, it's to really explore your desire, to really get clarity on what it truly is that you want and why you really want it. This is the first step that I do with my clients when we coach together. We want to really ensure that your desire is coming from an authentic place. And if it isn't, we want to find what your authentic desire is so you don't chase the wrong thing. And once that clarity is there, the second step is to learn to surrender. And that is exactly what I addressed in this video. It really means giving up control. It doesn't mean giving up power, but it does mean giving up control. And that means you can't try and force things into being, but you need to allow life to unfold for you. Which brings me to the third point, because that requires trust. It requires trust in yourself, and it requires trust in the process and in the universe and in the unfolding. It requires trust or faith or belief in something greater than just yourself. And building that trust, both in yourself and in something greater than yourself, is not easy. And that's also why I'm here to help you with it, because it's not easy. It's not easy. It's not easy for me either. So these three elements are really key. So you cannot come from a place of resistance, because life will fucking humble you. Obviously, if you want a complete transformation, which is really what I advocate for and what I really support you with, there's more that goes into this than these 3 steps. And I have a 6-step method to change your self-concept, which goes a lot more in depth. But these 3 steps are really, really key elements. So stop trying to control the process, step into trust, step into surrender, and let it all unfold. You don't need to manipulate anything. You just need to take the lessons every time you get humbled and not make it mean that you're doing something wrong. Please leave me a little comment if there's anything you want to share to this topic. If this is maybe something that you've experienced or that you relate to, leave me a like, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Again, if you want to dive deeper with me, if you want my support on your journey, if you want to work with me, reach out to me on Instagram if you have any questions, or click the link in the description box below to apply for my coaching program so you can join the next intake and we can really shift your self-concept together at a really deep level and consciously manifest your desires without force, without resistance, without manipulation. And I'll see you in the next video.